Guys, thanks for being here. We're going to get started. Welcome to the Lead Gen Underground. This is my new friend, Max Keller. Max and I just met at Fuel not that long ago. Max, give a short intro and we'll hop right in, man.
Yeah, good. Hi, Max Keller, full-time real estate investor. For the last 4 years, flipped 120 houses. And so I monetize different ways, whether it's rental, wholesale, fix and flip, seller finance, kind of done them all, still do it. And I use kind of a creative technique to do lead gen. So I think that's what I'm going to talk about today.
Oh, man. That's why you're here, man, because there's so many of us out here. Well, there's really not so many of us doing our own lead gen out here. That's what I found. There's not that many people that actually want to put in the work. A lot of other people would rather pay people, quite frankly. So there's less people out here doing the work. But of those people doing the work, a lot of them are doing it the same way. And you are one of the very, very, very few that are just flipping the model like completely on its head. And like you say, making customers chase you. I mean, what's that all about? Sounds like a great model to me.
Yeah. So, whether it's deal flow, whether it's private lenders, it's just the same thing. You want to be in the strongest position possible. It was sort of an idea that was birthed out of necessity because I'm in Dallas, Fort Worth. It's been a very strong market. It still is. A lot of people are moving to Texas. And so, when I start buying homes in 2015, you're doing the normal stuff. It's all progressions. You're doing your Craigslist stuff. Then you start, then you're using direct mail. My average cost per acquisition was like $2,500. So if I'm flipping the deal and it's, 40, 50K on a $250,000 ARV, you could do that all day. You would never need to innovate. But then what happened was more people jumped into the market, the deal flow started getting tighter. Then, it was just costing more per deal. And, both numbers were kind of going in the wrong direction. So what I had to do, I was actually getting kind of burnt out. A lot of people come on these shows and they're just like, oh, everything's great. I'm just crushing all the time. I feel amazing all the time. Yeah, that wasn't really the case for me. I was pretty much sick of fix and flip. I was sick of chasing down contractors. It just kind of sucked. And I was like, I think I sort of just want to go back to being a math teacher, but I was making good active income, obviously way, way more than teaching. And I had my office and I was like, oh, what do I do? So I made a list. I kind of encourage everybody to do this. I make a list of all the deals that I had done. I think I was on deal like 60 at that point. And I listed the deal and like kind of who it was, how I got that lead and how much money I made on that deal. And then, if I enjoyed it or not, because, if you don't enjoy what you're doing or it's like you hate it, then that just sucks. And so, I would get calls from people from my direct mail. It was me and one other person going out to the houses buying them. And I just, like had a bookkeeper and like one more person in-house. That was like what my office was. And so anyways, point is, folks here, they were just kind of treat me like dime a dozen. I didn't like it. So I said, what can I do to get my most profitable customer? Because, you can make money a lot of ways. If you make 300 grand, you can do that from 6 deals or 100 deals. And I was like, I want to do 6. I don't know. Maybe other people feel different. But a lot of people who talk about scaling up and they're ready to crush it and they're doing all these deals. I don't give a shit how many deals you're doing. Oh, sorry. Are we not allowed to cuss on this show?
Oh, you're good, man. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm just like, I don't care how many deals you do. A lot of times when people tell you what they're doing, they're trying to signal away from their weakness. Okay. So like I do this many deals. It's like, well, I don't care. How much money do you make at the end? That's all that really matters. If you're in this to make money, active income. So what I found is that my best deals and the deals I enjoyed the most were actually from seniors. They owned their houses outright. They were slow to trust, but once they trusted you, they didn't work with other people. They weren't as price sensitive, on and on and on. And so I want to get more seniors. I knew that area is growing. You read we don't have time to go into it, but if you read the Harry Dent, see on Facebook, seniors is the fastest growing, age group. The baby boomers are growing. I was like, this is an area that's growing. And if I niche and focus on this is a way that I can kind of, totally differentiate myself. So I wrote my first book and it taught seniors all the ways they can sell their house, pros and cons of each one, all the ways that they can stay in their house, types of senior housing that's available, how to pay for it. And then I wrote a chapter to their children. Because a lot of times when you're buying houses directly from the seniors, the adult children or grandchildren are involved. And if they don't know you, then you have to restart the whole process over. But if they do know you, get everybody on the same page, those are the most profitable deals because you're adding the most value. It's not because you're like being a shyster. So
Did you have a background as being an author?
No, I'm actually dyslexic. I had only read like, we were talking about books before we went on this. I only read like 7 books the first 35 years of my life. Then when I got in real estate, everybody was reading. I got with a dyslexia coach and I started reading. And now I read a lot. I had a coach who helped me write my first book. And I mean, it wasn't that hard. It was more of a time thing, but I had no intentions of letting anybody else use it. I started giving it to my homeowners. I started adding it on my direct mail that I'm an author. And then everything kind of started to change. It started to pivot for me. I started getting more callbacks. I started getting more calls from people who were just asking about the book. And then, it just kind of kept going from there. Then when I'd show up to buy the houses, like, I don't know what it's like. What's it like in your market? Like when you show up, are you the only one or is there like somebody else coming in an hour?
It really depends, but lately there's been so much competition. They're like, all right, show up at 1:30.
Right.
Are you Josh or are you Kevin? Because there's a guy, Kevin, coming at 1:30, and then the other guys come in at 2.
Right. Yeah. See, that's what was happening to me, and I didn't like it. And I was like, I know that I can serve these people at a totally different level, but they don't know it. And it doesn't matter what I know, it's what they know. It doesn't matter what I know, it's what you guys know. That's why I'm on here to teach you some stuff. I was a teacher for 7 years before I got into real estate. So I started giving people my book because it was more scalable. I had read that the best way to make money with a book was not to sell it, but was to get new customers. And for us, a deal, we have a very high lifetime value of a customer. Even if we never get a referral, one deal, I mean, you can do a wholesale. I think my biggest wholesale deal was like maybe in the 30s. So it's not a world record. I don't care. But, it's still a lot of money. So if I can just get one more of those people, well, that's worth it. So I started doing that, churning it out. Then when I start calling up like local places, like senior centers, see, I wanted to go where the people already were, and I already had their approval from a third party. And it was really hard for me to figure out how to do that. I call up my church. I call up senior centers. I say, hey, I want to come and speak to your seniors before the book. They're like, no, we don't know you. You're one of those bandit sign guys. Get lost. You're a crook. They don't know you, But then when I was the author of the book and I had the workbook, we created a workbook. And I said, hey, I want to come and teach this class. And they're like, oh, great. Come on in. So now I'm going from literally going to people's houses like it's the DMV, taking a number, to having these pastors of these churches go, hey, Max Keller, the author, is coming to this church, on Thursday night after our supper, come and listen to him. And there's like 30 people there and they're all listening to me. Same with virtual, because live and virtual is the same thing. So that's how I started to do my lead gen, and it worked really good. And I was like, when you're an author, you send the book out, it's just totally different. What happened, I went and bought one house from this lady. And I go, how if you take all the training, you're supposed to say, okay, well, who else are you looking at? What other offers are you looking at? And the lady's like, looks at me real weird. She's like, none. I'm like, okay, I'm cool with that. But can I ask why? I'm like, it's a pretty big city. Surely, like, you've called somebody else. She's like, well, yeah, actually, I called a bunch of people before you. But then when I found out that you were an author, I called those people and told them they don't need to come over. And then the people that I was going to call afterwards, I didn't call them. Because why would I when I already have the person who wrote the book on this subject? And I was like, oh, this turned out to be a really good idea.
That's crazy. You've framed yourself completely different in their mind. You've done the blue ocean strategy very successfully, right? That's what it is.
Yeah, I stole the idea from that book. I mean, most of these ideas I took from other books, but that's okay.
Absolutely. So I want to stop and just reframe what you just said, because I think that's really brilliant. We just talked about 80-20 before we were on the call.
Yeah.
The Pareto principle of 80-20, right? 80% of the results are by 20% of the population. But you did that with your own deals, your own past deals. And you said, well, I did these 60 deals and it made this much and the lead source was this. And then you picked your favorite or least stressful ones. Is that what you did?
Yeah, I did the same thing. Because what I found is if you're a visionary business owner, you usually always looking like light years down the road, not behind. And we don't want to look back, but there is actually a lot of money in like looking at what you've previously done and see what's working and what's not. And so that's what I did to figure out what a good opportunity niching down to seniors, homeowners were, because it's a growing market and you want to be in a growing market, not a declining market. And then I was like, okay, well, what can I do? What's the fastest, quickest way that I can stand out among everyone? And it was becoming an author. Because, it's been around like 4,000 years. It's not an algorithm. It doesn't change. Like, when I show somebody and I didn't have any intention for other people to use my book. It just sort of happened that way. Now we have a huge company around it. I have about 60 members, and they license my book in their local area. We have a motivated sellers book, which is the senior homeowner book. And then we have a private lending book for people who want to aggregate private money. But I didn't know any of that was going to happen. I just used these for my own purposes because, when you're a teacher, like there's a couple different ways. There's really two ways to get sales. There's hunting people down, and then there's trapping them. And my personality, I've just always been a trapper. I like to just share and then attract. And so we just started doing that, and it separated us. And now when people call our office, they sometimes they try to pull that DMV thing. And we're like, have you gotten a copy of our book? Because that's where the process starts. Like, oh, your book? And it's like, yes, here, let's send it out. So we sign it, we send it over to them courier. And the faster they get the book in our hands, then the sooner, the quicker it changes from the DMV to waiting for me to show up.
You send it over with a courier.
Yeah, because we want to get it in their hands ASAP, because we tell them, hey, just read chapter 3. It's all the ways to sell your house. And then if you still want us to, do this, because, a lot of times they're like, come over in 2 hours. And we're like, see, I don't want to run a business like that. It needs to be on my schedule, because I'm very busy too, right? They're calling me. So I just say, hey, okay, 2 hours, really? Or is it going to fire sale right now? Are we on the steps? No. Okay, then let's just do 2 days, read the book. And then if you don't want us to come over after you read chapter 3, then, like when you tell your kids, don't look at something, what do?
Look at it immediately.
Look at it. So say, only read chapter 3. So what do? They read the whole book. So by the time I show up, they've already spent 6 hours with me. They already know me. So there's none of this like, well, I'm the best investor. Well, I have a proof of funds letter. Well, we can close in 7 days. We can close in 6 days. And all these bull crap, lame ways to differentiate yourself. I answer my phone till 10 a.m., 10 p.m. I answer till midnight. What is all that? Just trying to differentiate. Well, when you show up with this and you give it to them and it's autographed by the author, I mean, how many of our motivated sellers do you think are getting books that are autographed by the author?
I can't think of another, my man.
And, when you give it to them, what's cool about it is they don't throw it away.
Right.
They just keep it forever, just like your books. I mean, do you throw books away?
No. That was the first thing I remember you ever saying, which is why a light bulb went off in my head. You said it was at Investor Fuel, and you were like, basically like, guys, everyone sends postcards, and guess what? What do you do when you get a postcard? We throw it away. How many of you are sending books? And I remember no one said anything, and you were like, well, who's going to throw away a book? What do? They put it on their coffee table and leave it there forever. And I thought of my mom, because my mom literally has had the same stuff on the coffee table for probably 15 years, right?
Exactly.
Same thing. She doesn't even know why they sit there, but I knew that was true. And that's how I knew that your idea here, your execution here was completely different. And that's why I had to talk to you and dive a little bit deeper. You said you got a few books there. Can you talk about the subject matter there? Because, I mean, that's pretty incredible that you're in 3 books.
Yeah, so I partnered with Brant Phillips out of Houston. He had this book that was just beautiful. He actually contacted me and said, hey, I saw what you're doing in the senior space. I got that award from Robert Kiyosaki. It was like a big year. And he saw that and he goes, hey, for Innovator of the Year award. And I was like, which like I said, all I wanted to do was just not sit in living rooms for 4 hours, not because I don't love people. I love people. Okay. But that's just not scalable. And if we want to hit our goals, we got to have scalable, stuff. And so he contacted me, he said, hey, I got this book on private lending. I have a lot of experience helping people raise private money. Can we do the same thing with your book and use it as a teaching, as a teaching guide to help people raise private money? So I looked at it. It's an amazing teaching document. So now we have people all over the nation. They're doing that. Like they want to raise more money for their deals, whether it's their buy and hold portfolio or their flip portfolio or their notes. And so we're letting them co-author into our book. And they give the book to an ideal private lender, like a business owner. They got $500,000. They didn't make their money in real estate. So they need a little bit of education. They need to get up to speed to be comfortable. And so they give them the book. It teaches them the ins and outs of how it works, how it doesn't work. And that's what these books are. Kind of if anybody here on the call or anybody who watches the replay is like trying to figure out how this works, there's 2 routes. You can write your own book or you can plug into somebody else's. The key is it needs to be in the language of the customer. And if the customer, your motivated seller, your private lender, if they're reading it and it's teaching them all the stuff they want to know, and it's not every option points to you. Like when me and you do a postcard or a long form sales letter, old school direct mail or even, digital ads, all the options are pointing to you. And, that's okay. I get it. That's direct response, but you're only going to get the most motivated people, who are hitting that timing bubble. So what we're doing is we're taking for our motivated sellers is we still have the same benefit message to catch the people on the timing bubble that are right now. But then our transitional call to action is, oh, by the way, if you're not ready to sell, but you want to know what's going on, we wrote a book on it. You can call our office. You can go, to the website to buy a copy for $12.99, showing that perceived value, or you can just call our office. We'll send you a copy for free. And like our authors, a lot of them are in fuel. So like if somebody calls Mike Fisher's office, he's in fuel. Mike?
Yeah, I do.
He's in Chi-Town. So if somebody calls him or Marissa and they don't know their authors, they send them a copy of the book virtually. Boom, they just send it over to them. Then they autograph a copy and either take it with them to the appointment or they mail it out to them, stuff like that. So it's all about letting folks know where you are in the hierarchy of help. And when you're seen as the foundational source for whatever your specialty is, there's just no better place to be.
Man, that's incredible right there. Talk to me. You said you send it out digitally and you also send it out with courier. Talk to me just a little bit about the mechanics of that, or how you guys handle that and timing wise and that kind of thing. That's
yeah,
really
sure.
cool.
So it's the same whether it's a private lender or a motivated seller. It makes no difference. We just say, hey, do you check your email? Are you on top of that? Because some people are, some people aren't. If they are, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to send you a copy of the book digitally, boom, right now. We have some people who just put the digital link to their book on their website. Most of our we're paying for a lot of traffic. And I know you study traffic and, we're paying for that. And everybody talks about, the real money is in retargeting. Well, why is that? It's because it takes a lot of touches for people to obviously do something. So, capturing somebody's information and then giving them something while they wait is huge. So my mechanics is that when they're on the phone and they're talking to us, we just make it really easy for them to get the digital copy. But we also make it really easy for them to get the print copy, because like we had somebody call last week and the mom didn't pass away, but she's like in a rehab facility, and they found my book on her bookshelf. And they said, hey, apparently my mom got a copy of the book. This is the situation, and we're helping them with that. So nothing replaces that physical copy, but some people just like to consume digital, and that's why we have both.
Absolutely. And so you said you are pushing some digital traffic. Are you doing a lot with your website to then send off the book, or is it mostly like in your hometown where they're calling your office and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so both, but we're still experimenting and testing all the time, and so but both work. We have some folks in our program, and we have people from California to Connecticut using it. Some folks are doing like Facebook Live. So instead of it just being a Facebook ad, like Facebook ad is fine. We use Facebook ads in our business, but the next level is hosting something like this live where you're the author, the expert, and you're answering questions. And then what they do is on their events, they have a link to the digital copy of the book. So like one of our authors, Deidre, she gets about 400 viewers on her stuff, and it's like local people who are trying to figure out what's going on with their house, and they come in and ask questions. It's just people are online, so they can just click right there and see her book and workbook, virtually. And then if they want a physical copy, because some people are more like that. So that's like the mechanics of it, is you can pretty much do whatever you want to do.
Nice.
You can use it as a lead magnet to get people to opt in. You can use it as a way just to increase the conversion rate. Because I know this is the lead gen show, but I mean, let's face it. We're doing lead gen for one purpose, to get deals. And in between lead gen and deals is lead conversion.
Absolutely.
And it's a lot easier to triple your lead conversion, go up 300%, than it is to increase your leads 300%.
Yes.
And if you talk to everybody who does a lot of lead gen, what they'll tell you is before they turn a massive lead gen, switch on, they have mastery of the back end. Because if that back end isn't in place and they don't have a pixel installed on their website, and they're not retargeting, and they don't have transitional call to actions, and they don't have the follow-up process automated, then it's a lot of that money is just getting burned down the tubes. You know what I mean?
Oh, definitely. You have to worry about the conversion, right?
Right.
That's what I was going to go to next. In terms of your book, I love that you're going so niche. how many books do you have to send out to get a contract or a deal? Do you have an idea around that number?
About 5 to 10. Yeah, it
Really?
kind of varies by month, but yeah, it's not very many. But see, here's the thing: is that it's sowing seeds. So there's two kinds of business. There, everybody wants to harvest right now. Like you said, everybody just they want to stroke a check to a digital agency that after 3 months they figure out they've been ripping them off. How many times do you hear that story at every mastermind? But part of it is their lack of education on the topic, and so their desire not to get educated on the basics of it to be able to see if what they're doing works or not. So you have to have a mixture. So do you need digital marketing and then put a massive conversion tool on top of it, and direct all the different ways that we generate, and then add a conversion tool on top of it? Yes, but you also want to be sowing seeds. So the only reason that the most important metric is what's our conversion rate of the deals that we go out to, and it used to be 25%, and now it's 50. And so that's very, very important, because that's where you're investing a lot of time. Can't get the time back. We can stroke checks for more mail and more marketing, but if you're driving an hour to an appointment, you want to close as many of those as possible. And I know some people are closing them virtually. Send them your book first virtually, and then see how many you're close. It's going to go.
I like this. Okay. And because you're so niche, is there any reason why you couldn't take what you do and just really go close to nationwide or go beyond your own states?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just desire. So it's just, for me, I did that. I went to Oklahoma and Texas, so I had a pretty good, footprint in both states, and I could use it as lead gen in multiple states. I just feel like there's still a local aspect, and the person who's local from that area, they just sometimes have an advantage. They at least have a tiebreaker. If there's two offers that are the same, if somebody is halfway across the United States only talking on the phone and somebody's at the living room, I just think that living room person is always going to have an advantage. So I had two ways to distribute this book in the system. I could have created a franchise model around it and just made the book systems the lead gen model, taking a piece of everybody's deal. I just chose to go this route because, I don't know. I used to be a coach. I was a basketball and football coach, and I actually enjoyed coaching and watching, all my teams do well, better than when I was an individual player. I think it's kind of the same thing. So I really enjoy seeing our members, like Mike, like Kevin Lee, like some of our guys in Fuel and some of the other masterminds that I'm in. I enjoy, seeing when they're successful. We had just had a member, Brad Brewer. He had a big senior housing community, really likes his book, our book. And so they want to distribute it. So he gave them cost price, and they just bought 250 copies, and they're giving it out to all their prospective residents as a lead magnet. It costs Brad nothing, but the book points to him. And how many of those people who are looking at a senior community have a house to sell? You know what I mean? Yeah, so it's like you can tap in. We haven't even talked about that, but tapping into influencers is really powerful. And I just like working through my members, and we all get together on a weekly call, and we talk about what's working, what's not working, And so the creativity with my group expands exponentially faster than if it was just me and the people I hired on my own. So
Absolutely.
it's been a good path so far.
That's the power of masterminding right there, right? It doesn't even have to be titled a mastermind, but when you're getting together around the same topic, man, the power of masterminding, it's so great.
Yeah.
I heard we're winding down to the back end of the show here. Vic wants to know if you're taking down deals yourself, or you have an acquisition manager. What does it look like on that end for you?
Yeah, both. So sometimes I'll go out there if they want to meet the author, but preferably Ryan goes out for me. I also have a network of realtors that use my book system. And so instead of paying for it, I give it to them at cost. And then they just want to aggregate the realtor deals. And they're on my real estate team because I'm an agent too. So when they sell a house, I still get paid on it. But then they don't want the investor deal. So they're going out and using this as their lead gen. And so I have duplication of 5 in my local market. So they'll go out and do a virtual or live workshop. They'll go out to their existing clients and increase their conversion rate. And if it's an investor deal, because they're really tight with me and they're part of the network, then they can flip me a deal, the investor deal up to me. So and then they don't want a piece of the deal because I'm already giving them the book system at cost. So when you have a tool, you can leverage the other people in your community and your network faster because you're seen as an influencer, not just another deal maker. So that's how I aggregate deals in my local market.
Absolutely. That's really cool. I heard you one time before on it might have been Mike's podcast talking about your radio show appearance, how you wanted to advertise on radio,
Yeah.
and then you talked to the program director, and you ended up like on a Saturday morning show. Can you tell everyone about that just really quickly? That was so cool.
Yeah, it was really weird. So there's a classical music station. My grandma helped raise me. I just love, that's, I mean, why I love seniors. And so I remember she always listened to classical music, and I like it too. And so I called the station. There were some other home buyers, doing that. Now they were salespeople, but they were buying advertising. And I was like, well, I should look into it. I called the station. I said, what's your cheapest package? They're like $2,000. So I can pay $2,000. Nobody's writing down the number because they're driving, and I'm a salesperson. I said, well, I just wrote this book on senior housing. Do seniors listen to your station? They're like, oh yeah, it's mostly seniors. I go, do you ever interview people, local authors? They're like, we'd love to have you on the show. I'm like, cool. How much does that cost? And it was like dead silence. And they're like, free? I was like, okay. I go, well, if I give out like some free copies of my book, would that be kind of cool? And they're like, oh, we would love that. It's so nice of you. Because they see the perceived value is $12.99. They don't know that me and my members pay $4 for, each copy of our book. Hell, I mean, I can get my book to somebody's house and it stays in their house until they pass away on the coffee table for less money than a 6-touch direct mail campaign was costing me. It's like, duh, you know what I mean? But we still do direct mail. But yeah, so that was crazy. So I went on the show. I've been on a lot of shows. People, like, they need to interview people. And when you're an author, you're an influencer. When you're an influencer, you have more leverage.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, that guys right there just shows you that I've never heard anyone generating leads like that before for no cost. And he just took something that's widely used and just used it in a slightly different way, paid nothing. And I'm sure you got some good leads out of it.
Right. Yeah.
Vic wants to know.
Yeah.
Vic wants to know how finding private money, how does the finding private money lender book work?
It's great. It is freaking flying off the shelf because the banks are just freezing up. And if you don't have financing, the way it's going to work is as the financing gets harder, the amount of money wholesalers are going to make is going to be less because they have less exit strategies, and everybody and the people who have the money know that. And so private money is going to be important as we reach this next section. And how it works is people fill out an application. I can send all your people, I'll send you a link to our virtual books, and then you can share them in the group and people can look at them. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So basically how it works it's the same thing. You co-author the book, and then we give it out to prospective people. Me and Brant Phillips do a call twice a month where we show you like how to go to self-directed IRA companies and present on your book. When you just show up and speak and you're just looking for money, you get like, this much of a crowd. But when you're the author, you're giving out signed copies of the book, you increase the crowd. So that's lead gen. You increase the conversion rate because you're a trusted person. And then also, you're getting more people there, you're increasing the conversion rate, and they're just seeing you differently. So yeah, the book it's just a teaching guide. It teaches somebody who's never done private lending before, but they're thinking about it, just teaches them if they should do it or not. And so when they come to you, they've already got 6 hours of info, but that's time leverage. You don't have to be there explaining it. And then they're like asking if they can work with you. I mean, we have more money right now than we can place. And, that puts downward pressure on the rates. But if you go to the hard money sector right now, what's happening? Lower loan to values, more money. You got to bring more money out of pocket, and the rates are going up. Deals, all this, everybody's been doing all these speculative deals based on, oh, I'm going to refinance out. Well, not right now. But if you have private lenders and you still have a business, but if you don't have financing and you think you just wholesale your way through a downturn, my first question is, how many downturns have you been through? And yeah, you can wholesale it through a downturn, but the margins get slimmer.
Yeah, definitely. That's a really good point there. Is that a co-author opportunity as well?
Yes. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's a co-author. I'll send you the links to the virtual book so anybody here who's watching, they can look at it. I think we have Sherry's book on there, Done Again, and she's out of California. She has our other book, and then when we found out about that, she's like, let's do it. Because it's the same thing. Most of the people probably here, whether it doesn't really matter what you're doing for active income, at some point you want to have enough passive income to replace it. Not that you're going to stop working, but you want more choices. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so if you don't have long-term money, I don't know how you're going to build a rental portfolio. And go to your local bank and see what their terms are going to give you. nothing. They're freezing up. And
Absolutely.
so they're very cautious, but I don't want to be cautious with my retirement. I want to build it right now. And actually this is the best time that we're heading into building it. So this is when you want the money the most.
Absolutely. All right,
Yeah.
two last questions, really quick ones. What would be a book recommendation or two that you would tell people on our call or listening to it later on? Maybe your favorite books or most influential books in your life.
I don't know, who is that, your question or somebody else's?
No, that's mine.
Okay. Well, it depends on what's your biggest struggle right now, because everything's situational.
Well, not for me, not for a big struggle for me. I really like reading self-improvement books, outlook books, or like marketing books.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I would just say, I don't know. I'm looking at my book list. It's kind of hard to pick one. Yeah. I think if you haven't read 80/20 Sales and Marketing, that's a great general purpose book. I mean, I like deep work. Actually, the only books that I have down here that aren't mine, all the rest of these are mine, but the only one I have down here that isn't mine is Building an Empire. It talks about, it's about multi-level marketing, but the sales principles in it are amazing. So that's a great book. And then Deep Work by Cal Newport. It just sort of teaches you like time blocking and scheduling, because the more successful you get, the less time you're going to feel like you have. So having mastery of time, you just have to have mastery of three things to really be successful. It's time, value, and relationships. And so you have to leverage your time. You have to be able to produce, a lot of value into the marketplace, and you see time, value, and then relationships, like what we're doing right now, getting to know people like Josh, what's going on, getting to know you guys, that's really, it's your network. Yeah. So those are two books.
The time mastery book, Robin, was Deep Work.
Yeah, Deep Work. It'll teach you how most of us are just, the reason we're not going anywhere is because we're just pissing in the wind, just putting out fires all day. And it's just, it has a really low ceiling. So if you're trying to get to where you're more passive in the business, if you're trying to become the least important person in your business, you have to have other people out there working on your behalf, or little books working on your behalf or something, but you have to have more leverage. A lot of times we just think of leverage as financial, but time leverage is even more important, and technology.
That's great. And then last, what is your BHAG, your big, hairy, audacious goal? Why do you do everything that you do?
Oh, that's easy. 1 million. We want to get this curriculum and these books out to 1 million senior homeowners and their adult children, and 1 million potential private lenders. And fortunately, our membership, it's been amazing. It's growing, and we're about 3 years away from hitting the goal for the senior one, and maybe 4 for the private lender. So we're distributing the books really fast. It's just all about, guys, you gotta, like, you guys are on this call, you're in the lead gen circle. It's all about your team. And it's not about you. It's about the team, and then the person on the other side of the kitchen table. That's it.
That's amazing, man. I love how you approach things. I love how you think through things, and I love how you're different. For anyone who's interested, where can they go follow you? Where can they find you? Where can they learn more about you or what you do online even after this?
Yeah, sure. Cool. So they can just go to YouTube and just type in, I think if they just type in Max Keller, I'm bubbling up.
Your channel is looking good. I just noticed that the other day. You have all the thumbnails up there. You have like your own custom banner, and it's looking really good.
Yeah, we're bringing on another person to, it's all iterations. You want to fail fast, and you want to fail cheap, and just fail quickly. And so we've just kind of constantly been ratcheting up our game. And so you can go there. Our website is customerschasing.you.com. And we've got we have like a webinar that explains like what our system is. So if you just want, it's good if you just want marketing, knowledge, and you want to figure out some ideas. There's a lot of creativity on there. It's a good time for that. And then we also have it broken down on our YouTube channel as a playlist by chapter. So you don't have to watch the whole 51 minutes. You can just click on whatever thumbnail is the most interesting to you. But yeah, check out the channel if you like the content, comment. We're actually about to do a free call either like monthly or twice a month, just for people who are on our channel, and they can just ask questions and just be informal like this. But I'm here to teach people how to get more deals, how to get more dollars, and just stand out in their marketplace and elevate their business brand. That's what we're doing.
Man, I love that. You're like the ultimate go-giver. I love that book as well, right over my shoulder, but you're the ultimate go-giver, man. Thanks so much for being here, Max. I think you just shared a boatload of information. I'm super interested to work with you about some of the book opportunities. I see the absolute value in it. Anyway, thank you for being here, Max. It was really, really great.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, guys. Check it out in the links, and then I'll put my contact info, email. So if you guys have any questions or follow up, just let me know.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys, for being here. You guys have a great rest of your week. Go out and be kind to people. This elevator is going up. Peace.